Hey, everybody, welcome. This is Dr. Levi with your show, The Dr. Levi Show. Today is June 22nd, 2016. It's a beautiful day here in Los Angeles. Very, very hot. Over the weekend in the valley, it got up to over 100 degrees. I mean, really snap, crackle, and popping here. So I hope wherever you are, it's beautiful weather and that you're having a great day. We're going to talk about a lot of serious things today in light of the real trauma and tragedy that happened in Orlando on June the 12th, 2016. Um, we have to address that. There's so much I want to talk to you about that event and things I think that we have to think about as a country, and more importantly, what we have to do to get the next generation, our children, the people that are coming up behind us, to get them ready to really embrace more love, more care, and more compassion. So today, I like us to take just a moment of silence to think about the 49 people that lost their lives in this tragedy. And I'd like us to really send we do it here on this show, the Dr. Levi Show. And as far as I can tell you from my heart, we send out our deepest condolences and heartfelt grievance for the people and their family who have gone through this extreme trauma. And also, I really congratulate the first responders and the physicians, the surgeons, the police, everyone that was involved in putting that great tragedy to an end. And now our country and the families involved really have to start the healing process. And it's so horrific an event that something like this will literally take years, if not generations, to deal with. You never forget it. It's like when someone passes in our family and someone say, "Oh, you'll get over it." Well, that's not a true statement. We never get over it. We accept it because death is one of those inevitabilities that we can't do anything about. We all are going to live, and of course, we're all going to die. So when people die, I've always thought it was so insensitive when people say, "Oh, well, you'll get over it, Levi." Well, not really. I'm not going to get over it. I'll accept it eventually, but not get over it. So with that said, let's take a few seconds of silence here to just remember those 49 individuals who lost their lives and who really, really suffered. Now, one thing I'd like to say is we take moments of silence. A moment of silence also has to be followed by moments of action, meaning that now I think it's so important for us as a community, as a nation, to look at the laws that we have and say, okay, this is not working. People should not have access to assault weapons. People should not have access to weapons that will cut a great number of people down in seconds. In seconds. There should be no access to weapons like that. If we're not in a time of war, where you're not on the battlefield, why are we making our playgrounds, our churches, our nightclubs, our shopping centers, why are we making them battlefields? Well, I believe it's happened because individuals have access to weaponry as what occurred in Orlando. So with that said, I think now it's a time for us to really think about writing to our legislation, writing to the legislators, really, and to our Congress people and letting them know that what are we going to do to make a change? Change only comes about from us. So either we just take moments of silence, which is not doing enough for the people that have been lost. They are gone forever. Their families will suffer and suffer and suffer. Their friends, their co-workers, their communities, their churches, their synagogues, their temples, these people are gone. So, yes, moments of silence are great for us to reflect on what happened. However, it's not enough. It is absolutely not enough. So, I'm encouraging everyone, our listening audience, to take pen to paper and do something about these tragedies. You know, from the horrificness of Sandy Hook and, of course, 9/11, there's so many tragedies over the past 15 years that we can go back and say, okay, well, what could we have done differently? So I have to say we have to think about doing that. We have to be proactive. If not, if you don't do something, then we get more of the same. And of course, if you're not part of the solution, then by definition, we have to be part of the problem. So a moment of silence is not enough. Yes, we do it and it's important in remembrance, but it is not enough. So I'm urging everyone to write letters to your congressmen, your congresswomen, and let them know that, yes, we need to make change in gun laws and also the issue of background checks. I believe everybody should have a background check if you're going to have a gun. And if you're on some list that says, hey, you've been doing some shady things or things that are not great, you have to not let someone like that get a gun. It just makes no sense to me. And again, my heartfelt condolences for the families and the community in Orlando and really for the nation. Because the nation now is really going to go into this state of what I call uh, national post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. So often we think that PTSD has to be affiliated with a war veteran or someone who has been molested or someone who has seen a great devastating disaster or someone who's been involved in a devastating disaster, someone who's been raped or beaten or assaulted or robbed. Well, yes, many of those individuals can undergo or have post-traumatic stress disorder. However, I think we as a nation now will go through the same for quite a while. How could we not? Because the bottom line here is that we have to make sure that we don't become desensitized to it. That when you hear the news or you see the news, it's like, oh, just another act of random violence. Oh, just another shoot down. Oh, just another mass killing. We have to really be careful that what happened in Orlando doesn't become the norm. It's so very important that we recognize that, yes, there's a problem. Yes, there's an issue. Yes, we have to do something about it. Well, what do? Do we simply talk about it? Do we cry about it? Do we just take, ineffective moments of silence about it? No, I don't think so. I'm asking all of our viewers, our listenership, I'm asking you to do something about it. I intend to. Trust me, I intend to write, and I love writing. I intend to write, and write, because something has to change. It really does. Now, I also want to address one issue, which is hatred. I do want to talk about post-traumatic stress disorder. I want to talk about hatred also. It's quite clear right now that our country is in a frenzy of what I call Islamophobia. So people who have a certain religion should be embraced. Our country was built on religious diversity. And now you have literally a religion that's being penalized for the acts of some individuals. So I'm asking everyone to really open your hearts and to not be Islamophobic, to not think that everyone involved in a certain religion should be penalized, should not be trusted, should be watched. It just doesn't go like that. It truly, truly doesn't. And then, of course, we have to talk about the LGBTQ community. Think about it. The lesbian, gay, transgender Q community has been under severe scrutiny and stress and shame for as long as I can remember in my 35-plus year lifetime, as long as I can remember. So I think it's so important for us now to really understand that individuals, no matter what their sex, sexuality, their race, should be, number one, respected, number two, loved, and number three, treated with compassion. None of us have the right, really, to judge someone else because of who they want to be with or because of whom they prefer to love. It's not our business. And I think it's so important that we embrace the LGBTQ community with love and compassion, and more important, with the sense of respect. Everyone deserves respect. I can't see why it's so difficult for us to love other human beings. That equation is not very difficult. The equation is the following. I treat people, equal mark, the way I want to be treated. Real simple. There's no big difference there. How do you treat people with love? Well, how do I want to be treated? How do I treat people with respect? Well, how do I want to be treated? I want to be treated with respect. I want to be treated with love. So I think if we really begin to look at how we treat individuals and why, so often when it comes to hatred, I find this a very intriguing dichotomy. Often hatred, I find, is based on what many people call biblical. Again, I have to laugh when I say this because it's so outrageous to me. People base hatred on biblical teachings. Well, isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? So the Bible, based on, we would think, love and acceptance and truth and inclusivity, people will say that, well, they don't like a certain group of people because the Bible says. I don't see anywhere in the Bible where it says don't love people, don't treat people properly. The golden rule: love thy neighbor as thyself. It's just not that difficult an equation. So I'm really hoping that this great tragedy is a chance for individuals to talk about these issues with their family, with their friends, with their coworkers, as well as with their children, because children, they're very malleable. So they can be taught love or they can be taught hatred. So I'm hoping that families around the world and internationally will really think that, you know what, let's tell our children that we should love more, that we should not be segregationists, that we should not be about inclusivity, that we should be about inclusion. We should be about more love. We should be about doing what we can to not bully other people into loving people the way we think we should. We should be about, how do we stop bullying? How do we stop it on a religious front, meaning how do we stop Islamophobia? How do we stop people from hating an entire religion? How do we do that? How do we stop hating gays and lesbians, transgender individuals, the Q community? How do we do that? Well, how do we stop people from hating what they may even see in themselves? What about that? You know, so often when you look at individuals, people don't like something in them because they have it in themselves. So I'm hoping everyone will have a chance to look at themselves. You know, interestingly, in medicine, we often, when we take psychiatry classes, we see this so often. For example, if there's someone in the class who has these real staunch, incredible, hateful views about lesbians and gays, often that person is lesbian and or gay. Many times we see that. So it's so interesting that they will say, oh, they hate these type of people, they hate this and that. And then when, as my grandmother would say, give enough time, everything comes to light. Finally, that person who was saying all the hateful things about individuals and being such an extraordinary bully, then you find out, well, they're actually gay or they're actually lesbian. So I'm hoping that everyone could, number one, love themselves. Whoever you are, whatever you are, guess what? There's only one of you in the entire universe, and the universe is conspiring and concurring for your greater good. However, to do that, you have to be about love. You have to be about not bullying. You have to be about acceptance, inclusivity, and living in that place of expanding gratitude. We have to go there. If we don't go there, then we stay in a stagnation of hatred, of segregationist thinking, and more importantly, we stay in a place of a very small modicum of what the world is really about, which is often, if you do that, then you live in a place of mediocrity. So my plea, my prayer, my thoughts are that we as a people will be about, and the people I'm referring to is the human race. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the human race. Not about someone's color, race, creed, sex, sexuality. That's the least. I'm talking about us as human beings. How do we stop bullying? How do we love more? How do we stop people hating a group of people because of whom they love? How outrageous. How ridiculous. How ridiculous. Someone loves somebody, and I'm going to tell you, you can't love that person? I don't want someone to tell me who I can love. It is ridiculous. I'm asking us as a community of human beings to love more. I'm asking us to be more passionate about making change, societal changes, legal changes, to stop bullying, to stop the thoughts that you can isolate a certain group of people and that it's okay. It's okay to hate gays, that it's okay to hate lesbians. How is that possible? That's like saying, well, it's okay to hate someone if they're white, if they're Hispanic, if they're Native American, if they're Eskimo, if they're Jewish, if they're Catholic, if they're Islamic, if they're Buddhist, if they're Methodist. Come on. Come on. Why not love everybody? That's the easiest thing to do. Why not do that? You know, I want to share with you a conversation I recently had with one of my neighbors. I was putting out the trash, and she was putting out the trash. And another neighbor who lives right across from us, she came out and she was putting out her trash. So I spoke to both of them. So as one of the neighbors turned around, I said, "Oh, did you speak to her?" And she says, "Oh, no, 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 we never speak." I said, "Well, why not?" She says, "Well, I don't know. I just don't speak to her, and I just leave it at that." I said, "Well, wouldn't it be easy if you like speak to her and she speaks to you?" She says, "No, no, no. I just remember every day during trash day when I come out, I don't speak to her, and if she sees me, I just look down. I don't speak to her." I said, "And you're a neighbor." She says, "Yeah, but we speak to you." I said, "That's real smart." So what I did the following day is I went to both of them, spoke to both of them, and I asked both of them to come meet me at my steps. I didn't tell them that I was going to have them both come. So they both came over, and then they were standing there and they were looking at me. And one lady, she said to me, she said, "Well, what is this about, Dr. Levi?" I said, "Well, do you know her name?" And she says, "No." And so I introduced them both. I said, "Well, I hope just the way that you speak to me and respect me, that you all will respect each other and talk to each other." So we kind of laughed about it, and then they kind of laughed about it too. And now the funny thing I have to tell you is they've been living next to each other. You ready for this? For 13 years and not speaking. I've been there for about 6.5, 7. I speak to them both, but I never knew that was happening. So just like I was able to, by the grace of God, build a bridge, build that gap of communication, I'm asking you to do the same in your communities. I'm asking you to be more about love. I'm asking you to be more about activism. I'm asking you to be more about being an advocate for change. Because don't forget, if we don't do something about it and it stays the same, then don't complain. It's like people who complain about laws, but they don't vote. Well, you know what? You don't vote, don't talk to me. Don't tell me how bad you think things are. Don't tell me how, quote unquote, these people are against you. The man is against you, whoever that is, whoever those people are. I don't know who those are. But whoever they are, if you're not voting, then you don't, why do you have the right to complain? So to make a full circle back to what we were talking about hatred, I'm asking everyone to really speak to your children, speak to your neighbors, speak to your family. Speak at your churches, your temples, your synagogues to make a change. And remember, when you see bullying happening and you don't say anything about it, you're participating silently. You're still participating, though. When someone's not doing the right thing and someone says some type of slanderous issue about gays or lesbians, you don't say anything about it, then guess what? You're participating. When someone says some Islamophobic slur, then you know what? If you don't say, "Hey, what are you doing?" Don't talk about that religion. Yes, every religion has some radicals. Every religion has some people that are not doing the right thing. Every religion has a dark shadow. You know, the Catholic Church has the issues of molestation and some other issues. You know, Islam right now, yes, there may be some people who are have radical thinking and doing radical things, but guess what? It's not everybody. It's not everybody in the whole Islamic world. So why should all those people be penalized and criticized? It can't be. It can't be right. You know, it's like, for example, when people, I just had this conversation yesterday with one of my patients. So she asked me a question about a movie, and she said, "Well, Dr. Levi, what do black people think about that?" I said, "Well, I can't tell you what black people think about it." I said, "I can tell you what I think about it as an African-American man." I said, "But I don't speak for the humanity of black people." I said, "I'm only one." I said, if I were like the father of all humanity, maybe I could say something. I'm just one man of color in a whole sea of different people. She says, "Well, no, 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 I don't want you to be insulted, but what do you think black people think?" I said, "I swear to you, you really have to ask a lot of black people." You know, I mean, I'm only one. I'm a single black man. You got to ask many people. And she really got insulted. And as she got insulted, I thought it was real funny because in my mind I was thinking, I should be the one insulted, not you, baby girl. You know? So I want to say that we really have to look at how we treat people so that we can really make these paradigmatic shifts about love, about acceptance, about inclusivity, about compassion. We really have to do that. Because if you think about it, as my neighbors have learned now, it's so much easy it's easy to speak to people than to remember not to speak to that one, not to speak to that one, but to speak to that one. That is just bombastically crazy. I can't say enough about it. Um, so I'm just hoping. One thing I wanted to say too. It was very funny. This morning when I was leaving to come to the show, my neighbors were coming out, both with their husband at the same time. So I waved at both of them, and then as I'm standing there, just about to get in my car, one neighbor says to the other one, "Do you want to go to the farmers market on Saturday?" And I literally got in my car. I was like, "Yes!" It was like, "Yes!" That's what it's about. It's about really. Um, Reminding people that we're more the same than we are different. We have more love to share than hatred. And if you just take the time, just a little bit of time to say hello to people, be kind to people, and greet them with a sense of respect, then guess what? They'll reflect that back to you. If you treat people with hatred, with bullying, with a sense of condescending, dismissiveness, well, guess what? They're going to reflect that right back to you. But I swear to you, if you're loving and kind and appropriate, people will give you that even more. And the universe, I believe, will bless you with even more. Because the bottom line is this: we only attract to us what we are. So if you are about love, if you are about acceptance, then guess what? More of that will come your way. If you are about prosperity, joy, truth, and great relationships and happiness, and more about giving away than you want to take, then trust me, the universe will bless you abundantly. How could it not? It's a very easy metaphysical principle that applies. If you believe it or not, it still applies. You know, it's like the law of gravity. You don't have to believe in gravity, but try jumping off a 20-story building. Guess what's going to happen? Mm-hmm. Exactly. So things that even if you don't believe them, they still affect us. So the law of attraction, the law of karma, we can call it, or giving more than you want to get. These laws exist. So why not take them in, believe them, and just be kind to other people? So again, I have to circle back once again to talk about post-traumatic stress disorder and what's going on in our nation. So again, we're saturated right now on all media sites, from Facebook to Instagram to Snapchat to the web to all news media feeds, Google, Yahoo, everything is saturated. The television, the radio, airways, everything is saturated about Orlando. And rightfully so, because it was a horrible, horrible, horrible event in human history. Not just for the United States now. No, for humanity, that one person was willing to take out all these wonderful people like that. Horrific, horrific, horrific. Now, with that said, because there's a saturation of the media with this horrific event, our minds, our consciousness becomes saturated with that. So often, let me tell you what I've seen to happen. An event like this, as horrible as it is, often you have other lone wolves that are looking at this, and they will try to one-up them, meaning that, okay, he took out 49 people viciously. Then you have these people who are looking at, who want their 15 minutes of fame if they're dead or alive, and they may try to do even more because our consciousness is saturated with this horrific event. So I'm asking everyone now to turn off the news, to not get saturated with these events, because number one, you won't be able to sleep well, you won't rest well. Every time you turn the news, they're talking about it. As horrific as it is, I'm asking everyone to take a step back. We know how bad it was. I'm asking everyone to send out their prayers, their thoughts, their positive meditations to the family and the friends and to the Orlando community, as well as to the nation and the world. Because I think we can do more with positive thoughts, because thoughts are things, of course, than we can with just the 15, 30-second, 49 seconds of silence. That's not enough. We have to be proactive. And more important, we have to know and understand that if we saturate our minds with this, more of that will come. Trust me. I hate saying that, but more will come. It just works that way. So let's just believe that this is over. that this is done and that we won't see this on the news anymore. Let's believe that together. Let's keep that in our meditations now, in our prayers, that this is the final time that this will happen. Let's believe that. Let's believe that. Let's feel that, because we want to not only think a thought, we want to feel the thought, and then more importantly, we want to become the thought. Become the thoughts of peace. Become the thoughts of inclusivity. Become the thoughts of love. Become the thoughts of compassion. Become the thoughts of giving. Why not? Love is so easy. Love is so beautiful. It makes you feel so very good. I want you to feel good. I want you to love more. I challenge you to speak to your neighbors. I challenge you to embrace the LGBTQ community with more love. I challenge you to embrace the all religions, not just Islam, all religions, knowing that no religion is better than another religion. I challenge you today that when you see and hear bullying, that you will stop it, that you will intervene. I challenge you today that sometime this month, just once, that you will bridge a gap of communication, that you will bring more love to your community, that you will call a family member that you haven't spoken to for years because you're angry with them, and that you'll be more forgiving. I'm challenging you to call your mom or dad that you haven't spoken to because they didn't like who you were with. I challenge you to call your aunt or your uncle who stole some money from you and you're still angry about that. That happened 35 years ago. I'm challenging you to call that cousin of yours who made you feel badly because of the prom dress that you were wearing, and they look cute in theirs. You didn't look so cute in yours. And you knew you didn't look cute, but you still said, I don't like people talking about me. And you didn't do nothing about it. I challenge you to do something about that. I challenge you to call your cousin. I challenge you to call your mom and be nice to her. You know what? Because one day you'll want to call her, but she won't be there. One day that father, that cousin, that uncle of yours you haven't spoken to, you're going to want to call them to have a laugh, say, you know what, I'm really sorry. You know what, you were right. I looked messed up in that prom dress. I shouldn't have worn it. And why didn't somebody tell me? I was messed up in that suit that I was wearing, that I had on those 5-inch shoes, and it looked horrible. And why didn't nobody tell me? I knew I looked bad, but when you told me, I got angry. You know, you want to call and forgive that person that you were going out with when you asked them how you looked. They said, well, you look kind of heavy in that. That looks kind of chunky. I don't like it. But you asked them, and they gave you truth. And then you said, you know what? I'm going to be angry at you. Well, for what? You asked my opinion. You asked my opinion. I gave it to you. So I didn't do it to hurt you. I did it out of love. So I think if we stop taking everything so personal, everything is personal. Everything's about you. Well, you're important. You know, you're not that important. You know, so often we're more important to ourselves than we think we are. We're really not. We're all here about one thing, I believe. That is to be of service, to make the world a nicer place, a cleaner place, a more loving place. But none of us are that important. No matter how much money you have, how much media you have, how many people following you, how many likes you have, you know, in the end, does it really, really matter? In the end, what really matters is, what have you done to be kind to your fellow human beings? What have you done to prevent any type of drama in your community? What have you done to stop bullying? What have you done to be more about love and inclusion versus segregationism and anger and hatred? What have you done to stop homophobia? What have you done to stop Islamophobia? What have you done to stop transphobia? What have you done for that? Uh-huh. Yeah, I want you to think about that. What have you done for that? We have to look at ourselves really from a standpoint of, what am I doing to make a difference in life? Am I just being a consumer and taking, or am I more powerful than that? Am I more strong than that? Am I more loving than that? Am I more about giving versus take? So, you know, there's so much I have to say, but I'm really asking that we look at our children and that we teach them more love and more kindness, and not to discriminate against anyone because of whom they prefer to love or they want to marry or spend their time with. Come on. Or what religion that they practice or what they believe. You know, it's so easy to love people. I love it. I love loving. I love being loved. But I truly love loving. It's just not difficult. Never has been. So I really want us to think about that. Today it's been a week now, a weekend, 3 days since this tragedy in Orlando. Again, it happened on the 12th. Today is the 22nd, so basically 10 days. So I'm really hoping that we can look at that tragedy and do what we can to make things better for our own communities, and really again to send out constantly our positive thoughts, our energies to the people in Orlando and for the nation, especially for those families that were affected by this great, great tragedy. Can you imagine if you were a father or mother that your son or daughter goes to a nightclub just for fun and they don't come back home? Can you imagine as a family? Can you just imagine that what those parents feel, what those brothers or sisters feel? We say in medicine we have several major loss in life are the one number one is called the horrible of the horrible, and that's the child before the parent. The second, of course, is our parents. The third is a spouse. The fourth is a brother or sister. The fifth is a pet, and the sixth, of course, is a grandparent. So those are all horrible, horrible losses. But the child before the parent, can you even imagine? I can't fathom it in my mind. Saying that my son or daughter has gone out to have a good time, and now the next time I see them, they will be cold and dead. I think we owe it to that community in Orlando. We owe it to the children that were murdered at Sandy Hook. We owe it to the people of 9/11. We owe it to those families that we have to do something as a nation to provoke and to evoke and to emote change. We have to do that. Change is the key to making things better. If not, individuals will not get background checks and have access to any weapon that they want and slaughter people like this guy did. So again, I think love has to be the order of the day. Love and change has to be the order of the day. Now, I want to talk about post-traumatic stress disorder. So there, again, as I said before, many people think it's only war veterans who experience it, but it can be anyone who has a devastating and often an unexpected loss in their families, or if they have issues with being molested or something just devastating happened. They were robbed, they were raped, they were assaulted. All these horrible things that human beings do to other human beings can give someone post-traumatic stress disorder. Even the loss of a pet. When I lost my dog, I remember the stress of that, the anxiety of that, of not being able to go home to her and not have her meet me at the door. Because one thing about her, if I went to the door 20 different times, she would run to the door, be just as happy every time. It would be just that jump of look, oh, Levi, you're home again. So that was very stressful for me. So, with this trauma in Orlando, of course, the whole nation grieves right now, if not the world, grieves for what happened there. So post-traumatic stress disorder can be chronic or acute. It usually manifests after a month to 3 months where people are having a lot of different symptoms. They're re-experiencing this. They have stress, they have anxiety, they can't sleep, they have flashbacks. And this can be triggered by, hearing it on the news again. They may have sense of fear, of urgency, of not being able to sleep. Their mood is off. They're just not with the program. They feel very reactive to issues, very very aroused, very stressed out about things. So with that said, there are different ways that we categorize post-traumatic stress disorder as acute or chronic, and there are different variables that we talk about, from avoidance symptoms to reactivity and arousal symptoms to cognitive and mood symptoms. I mean, there's this vast, I want to say, this vast panoply of different issues that we use to sort of pinpoint if someone has, if they're diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. With that said, the symptoms to me are more important. If you have these issues for more than a month, again, a feeling of fright, flashbacks, not sleeping well, anxiety, stress, depression, feeling unsupported. There's so many issues that are involved with this that I recommend that you talk to someone about it. The National Center for Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder, they say that 7 out of 100 to 8 out of 100 people will experience post-traumatic stress disorder in their lives. Now, that may not sound like a lot of people, but actually it is. Think about it. 7 out of 100 or 8 out of 100, that's 7% or 8% of everyone, basically, they're saying, will experience this. So, and again, it's not just limited to war veterans. Now, how do we treat post-traumatic stress disorder if someone is diagnosed with that? Well, there are a lot of different things that we do. Number one, we remind them that they should continue to exercise regularly and eat properly. Secondly, we recommend there's something called talk therapy. And talk therapy is a form of psychotherapy where you can be in a group for 1 to 6 months or even longer, as long as you need it, to talk about what you're experiencing and hear the experiences of other people. And psychotherapy or group therapy can be one-on-one or it can be with a group, depending on what works for you and what works for you and your doctor. And you simply talk about how you're feeling and what's going on. One thing I can tell you, when I talk to patients sometime who are going through post-traumatic stress disorder, I often remind them that if you're going to group therapy and they feel they need more therapy and it's not working, I remind them, hey, go talk to your rabbi, go talk to your priest, go talk to your preacher, but go talk to people in the church, and that's free, of course. Hey, you need to just talk and let them know you're not feeling good. But it's so important to reach out to someone if you're having these experiences, because the issue with post-traumatic stress disorder, it affects your relationships, your family, your job, your community is affected. So if you have issues that are post-traumatic stress disorder related, then you want to get help. And the other thing, when you're getting help, to not have any shame about it. Don't feel like you're being judged or that you're less than. Guess what? Everybody needs help, all of us. No one is out of the realm of needing help. Why? Because we're human beings. And by definition, we all have our issues, those that we talk about and those that we don't talk about. But we all have our issues. But post-traumatic stress disorder, that's something that we really should talk about. Why? Because we want you to be healthy. Our show, this show, the Dr. Levi Show, is about education. It's about uplifting. It's about giving you very focused strategies to have a great life. Because if your life is fantastic, guess what? You'll be able to impact the lives of other people who also have a great life. So when I say that, our team here on the Dr. Levi Show, our awesome producer, Janet Rodriguez, our amazing engineer, Jarvis, our phenomenal owner of the show, Tony, we're all here about change, about giving you the opportunity to make a difference in your life and to let you know that if you make one step, I believe the universe will make 2 steps on your behalf to get you to where you want to go. So with post-traumatic stress disorder, it's so important that we really look at ourselves and we talk about it. Don't have any shame about it. That's the key. No shame. The other issue when it comes to treatment, we can also treat it with medication. Myself, even as a surgeon, as a hand surgeon, I'm not a big pusher of medication in general. It's never been my thing. I've always thought that we should use food as natural medicine. I also believe that there are other modalities of healing like acupuncture, acupressure, and I think exercise and proper diet, which help us, limiting dyes out of the food and different types of gluten and other proteins that I think are not necessarily the best for us, limiting dairy and sugar and salt and soy. Those are things that I've held to my heart wholeheartedly about being fit and healthy. And I think someone who has post-traumatic stress disorder, yes, medication might be a viable tool for them. It depends on the circumstance. But however, before you start any medication for PTSD, ask your doctor, what are other things that we can talk about? What are other avenues of healing that we may do that will not involve medication? Because don't forget, this is medication that will change the way you think, will change your mood, will change how you feel, will give you what I call often a mild zombie effect depending on what the medication is. So I really want you to have these open conversations with your doctor and ask him or her what will be the best plan. And also, one other thing, too. Before any doctor just simply puts you on a medication, this is the most important thing I want to share with you today about medication, and that is always, always, always get a second opinion. So often people feel, well, their doctor is God. Well, no, he or she is not God. He's a doctor. He or she went to medical school, trained to do medicine. That's about it. Not a God. The doctor's no better than the dog walker. Just a job, a service. Period. That's it. Nothing else. So have these conversations with them to let them know that, number one, you don't want to be on medication, and what can you do differently? And then if they say, you know what, yes, you need the medication, get a second opinion. If the second opinion says that, then you may want to consider it. And then, of course, get the lowest dosage of medication, not the highest, the lowest dosage, because every medication has its effect, but also it has the effects that you don't want, affecting your liver, your kidneys, your other internal organs. So be careful, be careful with that. It's so very, very important. Now, the other way that we treat post-traumatic stress disorder is with cognitive therapy. Now, cognitive therapy means, for example, you can do something called, if you have feelings like you're reliving the event over and over, you can actually go to the place where you're having that feeling about and see it, so you can like minimize the effect on you and not think about how bad it was. It's called exposure therapy, whereby you go to the place, say, okay, this was bad, it happened here, but then you kind of disempower the event. You take the power away from it, not think that, oh, I'm always going to be afraid of this place because I was beaten here, I was robbed here, I was raped here, I was molested there. You want to take away that power from that place. So sometimes they use exposure therapy, which is very tough for some people, but you know what? It depends on what your doctors want to do. But cognitive behavioral therapy and exposure therapy is only one form of that. There are many other forms of it. But it's so important, number one, that you have the conversation. Number two, don't feel bad about it. Number three, that you get the help. And number four, understand that with post-traumatic stress disorder, like any other issue, once you disempower it by getting help, you'll feel better. Don't think about what people think of you. I'll share this with you when it comes to people, what they think about you. One thing my father used to say, he was an interesting, funny guy. He would say, if I told him, I say, I wonder what people think about this, Dad, what do you think about that? He'd always say, Levi, son, don't worry about what people think of you, because they don't do much of that. And I've always loved that, because it's so true that in general, when you're thinking about what people are thinking about, they're not thinking about you. Especially if you live in Los Angeles, they are definitely not thinking about you. They're thinking about themselves, period. It's just the way it is. And most likely in the city where you are, it's just like LA. No one's really thinking about you. They're thinking about themselves. People's lives are so complex today and so complicated. So I think when we're thinking about what are people thinking about us, we might want to take it down 2 or 3 notches, because guess what? They're really thinking about how they can get food on their table, take care of their families, how they can increase their relationships, how they can make their relationships better, how they can expand their businesses, how they can make more money, how they can give more money to their church, how they can give more money to areas that they think need money and that deserve money. So I think when we become so self-important that we think people are thinking about us, they're really not. They really, really are not. So with post-traumatic stress disorder, like I can think about many other things, from depression to bipolar to schizophrenia. If you're experiencing any of those issues, it's so important that, number one, you have no shame about it. Number two, that you know yourself, you love yourself, appreciate yourself, and get the help that you need. And number three, understand that help is available. There are so many hotlines for post-traumatic stress disorder that you can talk to people for free, easily. So don't think that you're limited by your finances. Don't think you're limited by your community. With the great advent of the net, you have access to infinite knowledge, literally. So you can get the help. So don't feel bad about it, but reach out to somebody. Reach out. And again, what's going on right now in Orlando, I want to remind everyone, watch less television right now. Just do your best. I know, yes, we all want to stay informed. We want to know what's going on. Just watch less. It's just so inundating to your consciousness, to your mentality, to your life. It's like so much, and so very negative that this will impact your life. And negative attracts more negative. So it's up to you to bring forth the light. It's up to you to be more loving, more kind. You have to do that because the world needs you. It really, really does. And I believe in you. I believe that you know yourself, and I believe that you will make a difference. When it comes to post-traumatic stress disorder, again, reach out, get the help, make the change, and expect to be better. Expect that success and victory and goodness, that these things are your birthright. I wake up every morning in this state of ever expanding gratitude, knowing that the world is for Dr. Levi Harrison. I wake up every day knowing that Dr. Levi Harrison has a purpose of service, that my life is about service. My life is about having joy and peace and wonderful relationships, that my life is about making a difference in a way that no person on earth has done before. Why? Because there's only one of me. And guess what? I love saying this, what I'm going to tell you right now. This is a real, for me, it's a profound statement. I hope it's profound for you. There's only one of you. How beautiful is that? There's only one of you in the entire magnificent, ever-expanding universe. There's only one of you. Just one. So your life is not in vain. The universe does not work by happenstance. No, it's very synergistic. It's very synchronistic. It's very specific. So with that said, life is for you. Your life matters. You matter. So I'm hoping and believing that you believe that and you take it in, and that this horrific event in Orlando will be a stepping stone for us to bring about greater change, to be more loving, more kind to individuals, to not be homophobic, to not be transphobic, to not be Islamophobic. You know, isn't it something when you can put a whole line of phobias together? Isn't that crazy? You know, it's ridiculous. I'm hoping that we will be more about love, more about consistent love, more about advocacy, more about inclusivity, and more about living life in victory. And we do that by greater service to mankind. So, my final pleas are the following. 1, be more loving and more inclusive. 2, to stop bullying when you see it or when you hear it. 3, to write to your congressman, your congresswoman, your legislators, to let them know that, yes, we need background checks for individuals who want to get firearms. Yes, some forms of firearms should not be allowed for the general citizenry. How can it be? Why do we need assault weapons if I'm living in my neighborhood? Let me see. I don't. So, and I'm not about gun control either. No, I'm about gun appreciation in a way that you know that some people who want to have guns, okay, they can have them, but those who are on certain lists, or who've been followed or watched, who have been doing things that are not correct, who have histories of illness that may make them do things that are not correct, I think, yes, we have to say, okay, you know what? You can't have this type of weapon. You might hurt yourself or other people. We have to have those types of controls. And I'm not for global restriction. No, I'm for appropriate restrictions. And I think we have to look at that. We truly do. And then I also want to say, again, to Orlando, the people in Orlando, you know, this show, the Dr. Levi show, I mean, I don't want to get emotional about this, but it is just horrible what happened. And I'm just hoping that that we as a people can be more loving, and that I don't have to do another show about this, which would be a blessing, and that we will really think about what happened and do something about it. Not just a moment of silence, but real advocacy to make a difference. We have to be about love. We have to be about inclusivity to make things better. Imagine if you had a kid and they didn't come back home and you have to go out that night. Can you imagine? So, again, as always, you know, when we close this show, I want to remind you to be kind to the veterans, be kind to children and the elderly especially, because sometimes we have to be their voice. And the veterans of America, they're the real heroes and the real sheroes, because we have our sustained freedoms and benefits because of what they sacrifice. So I'm a primary promoter of veterans. I think they should really be treated with love and kindness and respect. And they should not be living under a freeway overpass. They should not have a sign that says homeless. They should not, they should not, they should not. So I'm asking you to be kind to the veterans, make a difference, and be kind to your neighbors. It's all about love. It's all about goodness. Well, this is Dr. Levi. This is the Dr. Levi Show. So I'll see you back here next week. Have a great, great week. This is Dr. Levi.